Welcome everybody to tonight's Pathways virtual session. My name is Marvin Wiley, and I'm currently a Pathways guide over in Tacoma, Washington. And tonight we'll be going over some key elements as far as we prepare for the Pathways launch, which we're inching closer and closer up to reaching and having the Pathways launch on March 20th. And starting off today, we're going to be talking about the importance of logging on to the Toastmasters website. We'll talk about during all the club visits, when we talked about taking the first bite, we'll discuss that as well, as far as how we can go about helping all of our fellow members who possibly missed that meeting, that they can take the first bite as well. And we'll also talk about the language that Dwayne would like us to incorporate so that we can work together and work with a unique language and make it a little bit more fun as we're launching this Pathways journey. And Christine is also on the line. She's also a Pathways guide. And then we'll move into discussing how to encourage all your club members to get signed up onto the club website. So I'd like to introduce Christine to lead us in that aspect.
Thank you, Marvin. I just thought everybody knew how to get on Toastmasters International. It's surprising to learn how many officers still don't know how. If you don't know how, please have one of your club officers show you how to log on. You need your membership number, which is in Free Toast Host or Easy Speaks. You just look at your profile on your club website and there's your number, and then you can log on to Toastmasters International, ask you for your number, you make up a password, and then you're in. The point of doing it now is that if everybody waits until Pathways opens, Toastmasters International flips the switch and it opens, and then everybody's trying to make an account on Toastmasters International, it's going to bog down the system and everything's going to take longer. That's why it's so important to do it now. But Marvin, do you have slides to show them where to go? Can you show that? I know that Kyle had sent out an email saying how to log on. And
absolutely, yeah. So the step one, go to toastmasters.org. That'll be the first.
Yeah.
Then over the top, you'll see login. The email address that you gave the person who signed you up for your membership, once you filled out your application, that email address is what you'll use as you are signing in. This might take a bit to load, it looks like. Here it goes. I like to save my passwords because I'm lazy. I don't like to type it in. But once you first go and log in, you just put in your email address, and then you'll click forgot password, because there'll be a note here that says Toastmasters members logging in for the first time, please use forgot password. So you click that, and it'll simply walk you through the steps of setting up your password.
It was very easy. Absolutely. I did this when I barely understood computers. It was so easy. This site is beautifully done. You see Pathways when it opens. It is so beautiful to look at.
Absolutely.
So we're done then here with showing how to log in.
Okay, and moving on to some of the things that I've found out as I was visiting clubs is that there's a lot of excitement upon the anticipation of something new, something exciting, a big new development within Toastmasters and new opportunities. I know I'm excited about how it's moving, because there's been a lot of changes over the last 20 years or so as far as more and more work is being done online. And I'm really looking forward to having all the opportunities of having all of the tools that we use in Toastmasters for our projects. I can access that on my tablet, my smartphone, my laptop, any device, anywhere I go, I have my Toastmasters materials. And I think it's a lot more convenient. It's much more updated in that way. And that's one thing that excites me about the new Pathways experience. And what excites you, Christine, about the new Pathways experience?
It is so robust. when it was pointed out to me that the icebreaker in our Competent Communicator Manual is 3 pages of coaching and 1 page of evaluation, and then you learn that the icebreaker online is 20 pages long with 17 pages of coaching and videos and how to write a speech and outlines, and then 3 pages to explain how to evaluate. Better. It's much better. It's more positive. The other thing is, people at my workplace were not so interested in Toastmasters, but today and yesterday when I showed them the 10 paths with the summary of each path and the electives that are available, oh my gosh, there is so much excitement at work. I think we'll be able to open a new club.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really pumped.
Perfect. Christine, do you want to talk a little bit about the language that we can use?
Yeah, we want to change our language so that it's more descriptive. For instance, we talk about teaching somebody, but teachers really teach a person who doesn't know anything. Like when you think of being in first grade and your teacher teaches you how to read, you don't have any skill in that area. But we're Toastmasters. We have lots of skills. And we're not trainers, because trainers teach one skill. If you wanted to be a world champion ski jumper, you'd need a trainer to just work on those skills to accomplish that one thing. But we're not trying to accomplish that. We're trying to build clubs where you're safe to learn and choose your own path and encourage each other to work their ways through that path at their own pace. And so in that way, we're really instructors, and that's what you all will be. You're going to be instructors to help people understand how to use pathways, how to get around in Basecamp and the Basecamp manager, and how to navigate feedback, receiving feedback and giving feedback. And so because you'll be showing people how to do that, we would prefer that you refer to yourself as an instructor rather than a teacher or a trainer. Also, some people freeze up at the word technology. Their first reaction is, I can't do that. I'm a chemist. When people find out I'm a chemist, they say, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You just take classes. Somebody teaches you the vocabulary and shows you how, and you just go class by class, and you can do anything. And it's the same thing with the computers and the things we need to learn. But the word technology seems to freeze people up. We'd rather you use the word tools. Pathways has all of these different tools. They'll teach us how to use a blog. They'll show us videos. They'll walk us through many things, and we'll use all these different tools that Pathways is offering us. And we talk about mentoring each other, but in this situation, none of us know how to use Pathways. And the second level of Pathways teaches us mentoring. We would like you all to think that you're buddying up, because we're all learning this at the same time. And so if you're buddies, like when you're in the Army or any kind of group situation where you need to rely on each other, then there's a lot more support. In Basecamp, oh, well, don't say you're frustrated, or if people are complaining to you that they're so frustrated, just tell them that they need to refocus their energy and that you'll help them do that. We're talking about focusing energy rather than frustration. And Basecamp, they think, we're back to the technology thing. Basecamp is really beautiful. You open it up and it has all kinds of tutorials to show you how to get started on your icebreaker, and then in the icebreaker project, it gives you an example of an icebreaker, and it does that all the way through Pathways. And so Basecamp really is a place where you keep your records. You write your speech, you can keep it there, or you can keep your private stuff on your own computer, but nobody can see your Basecamp, only you. Even your VP Ed doesn't get to see your feedback from others if you don't want them to. But your VP Ed will be able to sign off that you completed a level through the Basecamp manager. That somebody will be the Basecamp manager. And I'm sorry, I'm not completely clear on that, but we would prefer we all learn better language to help each other out, that we're buddies, rather than mentors like we think we know everything, and that we are working with new tools, and that these changes are an opportunity for us. Not, why does everything have to change? I hate change. This is a beautiful opportunity, and it really is beautiful. Beautiful is the word. It is so well done. It is so attractive to look at. It's so exciting, and you get to choose what you want. So I'm so excited. I hope you are too. Thank you, Marvin.
Thank you, Christine. And a very common question is, once we are approaching this Pathways launch, is to think about, do I continue on with the traditional program, or do I just jump into Pathways? The answer is, you really want to think about what your goals are and what you wanted to accomplish and why you joined Toastmasters. You can still complete all the goals that you have within the traditional program. You can do both of them at the same time. You can do both the traditional program as well as Pathways at the exact same time. You'll have 2 years to complete any other project or any other designation that you wanted to achieve. So if you wanted to get your DTM, which is highly possible to do in 2 years, you can certainly make the decision to go after getting that accomplished. And for any designation that you achieve, such as Advanced Communicator Bronze, Advanced Leader Bronze, etc., you'll be able to hold that. You'll always be able to say that you're Advanced Communicator Silver, etc. You'll always be able to hold that. After the 2-year transitional period, at that point, you want to be able to move forward as far as getting the designations after that 2-year transitional period. So that's one thing to keep in mind as far as refocusing, identifying what your goals are. And if you're excited about getting your DTM, or if you have a goal that you want to accomplish, you can certainly finish exactly what you have started. So that's very well encouraged to finish what you have started within the traditional program as we're jumping into Pathways. And then Christine talked about the buddying up mentality. That's a very useful idea when we're looking at helping other members experience what you experienced during the first exposure to Pathways and looking at all of the 10 paths. Here are the 10 paths again. And this document, Kyle sent this out to all the officers, to all the vice president of education, secretary, and the club presidents. So everybody should have a copy of this sheet here. And you can use this tool as you're helping other club members who may not have gone through the process of choosing their first path. So you can use this alongside the Choose Your Path worksheet, where they can go through the process of identifying the path, looking at the different projects that are within the path, and getting that understanding. That way, when Pathways launches, they'll have a little bit more background as far as what they're jumping into. That's one thing that's highly encouraged. Another thing that's highly encouraged is the Icebreaker project. Is although we don't have access to Pathways or to Basecamp at the moment, we do have access to the Icebreaker project. And to get access to that, you just go to the Toastmasters website. You'll see a Pathways tab. You'll see where it says Learn More. Once you start scrolling down, you'll see a shortcut right here where it says Sample Your First Path. And that'll take you to the Icebreaker project. And this is a fantastic way that they have this set up. Is, as Christine talked about, the Pathways Icebreaker, it's actually 23 pages long. There's a lot more information, a lot more tools that you can use as you're outlining your speech. You'll see a drop down that will help you to jump around to the different sections. We're just going to take a look at this. So this is where you'll see all of your resources. When you look at the evaluation resource, you might have seen this at some of the club visits on what the evaluation forms look like. It walks you through exactly what all the different areas are. This is very useful as far as identifying exactly what a 1 means. Like for a 5, that will essentially mean that you've overachieved in those areas. And then a 1 means that it needs some attention generally. A 3 means that you've accomplished that objective. So as far as somebody who's just getting started as a new member, one thing I recommend is to jump into the Icebreaker project so that they can get a feel for that. it's a lot easier to get effective feedback because it walks you through all the key areas of what makes a speech effective. So I really like these evaluation forms. And like Christine talked about, there's also a very fantastic tutorial online about how to use these forms of the evaluation that will be on Basecamp. So that would be the evaluation form. The outline worksheet is useful as well, as it walks you through all the main points of your speech, identifying your goals, and it will walk you through your opening, meaning your greeting, capturing the audience's attention, introducing yourself. It'll guide you through the transitions as you're moving from different areas of your speech, such as your body and your conclusion and all your main points. So I believe this is well done for giving you an understanding, getting to develop good habits on writing your speech. So this is a project that we all have access to right now and on the website. And I'm looking to actually complete my first Pathways Icebreaker on March 6th. That's why I'm looking forward to completing my first Pathways Icebreaker speech. So I encourage you to just go on here and just take a look. When we look at the assessment, when you take the assessment before and after the speech assessment, it's actually not going to say the results. So one thing you can do is download the entire PDF file, the 23-page document of the icebreaker. On page 6, it'll have the paper form of the assessment, and you can just fill it out manually, and you can save that, and then that way when Pathways launches, you can just upload it. And that will be the icebreaker presentation. And moving on, we can go ahead and answer any questions that might be pressing. So we can go into a question and answer session. If you wanted to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Hi, my name's Lindy.
Hi, Lindy.
We were shown the regarding choosing your pathway. We were shown those sheets that you demonstrated, but nothing about how to use them. Can you explain that to me?
Which sheet?
The choosing your first pathway.
Okay, absolutely.
I think she's talking about the core competencies and the paths.
This one? Yeah, correct. For this sheet here, you put the path that you chose here on the top line. Then you'll see that level 1, it's already filled out. These projects are consistent among all of the paths. Then level 2, there'll be two projects where they're unique to your path. So you'll write those down related to your corresponding path. This is already filled out. The introduction to Toastmasters mentoring, that's consistent throughout all of the paths. And then for
Marvin,
yeah,
go ahead and go over to the paths and the core value chart.
Okay.
And go up to the top 10 again, to the first 10.
Okay.
If you can. Okay. Yeah. Okay. See, there's the dynamic leadership is one of the 10 you can choose. And then go ahead and go to page 2, if you would, Marvin. Okay, this is, whoops, too far. This is, oh, it is. This is the same item from page 1, but now it's actually the breakdown. This coincides with that worksheet. So you'll see that the mastering the fundamentals, the 3 things that were filled in were the icebreaker, evaluation and feedback, and researching and presenting. So that coincides with that far left column. When you go to the second level, it coincides also. It'll have the 2 areas that you fill in because they are specific to that pathway. Each one of you look under learning your style, there's 3 items listed there, and 2 of those are different for every path. So when you go to that worksheet, you have to fill in the ones that are appropriate for that specific path. And number 3, you'll notice, I believe there's 14 choices, and you're supposed to choose 2 of those choices. And this is where you start really personalizing and customizing what you're wanting to accomplish. One of them is connecting with storytelling. That's one that I have an interest in. And my other one is prepare for an interview. And those are two things that I'm going to follow along on one of my 3 choices that I'm making right now for my pathway. So go ahead and go back to that worksheet, Marvin, because you can see the 2 work in tandem when you get to page, in this case, 2. So there was 2 areas to fill in that were specific to that pathway. Level 3 is where you start filling in your choices. And level 4, I believe there's 9 items and you choose 1. So you'll start making your elective choices over here as you move further on. Back to you.
Perfect. Oh yes, and also as you're choosing the electives, you'll see the requirement where it's the minimum is 2, but you can do as many electives as you want, but you can only get credit for a particular path. For example, for level 3, you can only get credit for 2. If you did want to complete more than 1 or more than 2 electives, one thing that would be recommended is to possibly consider doing a second path, because that way, because all the electives, they're the same projects throughout all of the paths. Like for level 3, these are the same electives that you'll choose from. So you can choose a different path and get credit for the additional electives. So that's one thing that's recommended as far as choosing or doing more electives if there's something else that interests you. And does that help to explain these charts? And
It does a bit, but I still don't understand how you choose your first pathway. Our ambassador said something about a quiz, or I don't know. So how are you asking people to choose them? Simply by these descriptions underneath the pathway, or how are our members to choose?
Yes, and the choice isn't necessarily fixed. You don't have to follow through with the path that you choose. It's really just going through the process and looking to see what it looks like to choose a path and what's within them, to just understand the process. And when you look on the left-hand side as well, you'll see all the core competencies, which is public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. And they're all numbered 1 through 5. When you look at the list of the paths, you'll see the numbers here as well. And you can think about which area that you wanted to focus on the most. For example, if you wanted to focus mainly on public speaking, then the presentation mastery might be the path that you might want to choose, because that focuses on public speaking and confidence. And then for dynamic leadership, this focuses on public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, and confidence. So that's another thing that you can look at as far as identifying your path. And then once Pathways launches, like you said, there is an assessment that you can take, and then it'll identify 3 paths that will fit the areas that you would like to focus on. It'll walk you through some questions about what your interests are. It will be a very intuitive assessment, and then it'll have some recommendations. You don't have to follow those as well. If there's a path that you really wanted it to do, you can choose whichever path that you wanted to go down, and that's the great thing about Pathways.
So I'm sorry to belabor this, but I'm the VPE for my club, and I just want to understand how to use these tools to help people be enthusiastic. So that worksheet that you were showing me where you fill in the blanks, you would use so that they can think ahead and explore. Is that right? What's the point of that for our members?
Yeah,
as instructors, how are we using that as instructors?
Yeah, so when we think about choosing a path, if you just tell somebody, like in Pathways, you'll choose a path and you'll go through, or you'll do projects. They may not know exactly what that means as far as what's the path, like what are the levels, what do those mean? And this worksheet will have all the levels, level 1 through level 5, and then this document will have all the projects that are within all the levels. So it kind of brings it more to life as far as what the paths consist of in that way, instead of it being vague, if that makes sense.
Okay, I
Does that help? Or Christine, do you have a better explanation? Or Dwayne?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and step in. At this point in time, it's what speaks to the individual. This is really an emotional decision. Which one of these interests them? And which one of them will play into what they foresee as their personal development? Is it for business? Is it for personal growth? What is it that as they go through this? First of all, which path speaks to them? And then which one of the elements within that path? For example, on level 3, which is where most of the decisions start coming in, for me, as I mentioned, prepare an interview really interests me. And another one would be creating effective visual aids. And that's huge. And the training components for that one are, I understand, are just amazing, because how many of us have tried or made attempts at doing PowerPoints or Prezi presentations or what have you, and things have gone sideways? Well, there's a kind of a checklist of what you can do to make a better visual presentation, how to make sure things are going to work for you. And it's those types of tools, but those are ones that speak to me because I have some practical need to learn that. But at this point in time, it really is. It's an emotional decision. What kind of interests you? What kind of area would you like to expand in and learn more skills in? And it's really your choice. It's really, that's the exciting part of it.
Wayne, can I jump in here?
Yep.
One of the questions, so she's real unsure of which path to take, and I fully understand. I finally chose one today, and I've been looking at this for weeks. But I was also told that if you choose a path and you're working it and you're realizing this is not the path for you, you can exchange it. I think it's within 30 days.
That's right.
You can, Toastmasters will take back the path that you asked for and replace it with something else that you'd rather do. So it's not carved in stone. It's very supportive. The other thing is, if you look at level 3, the electives, it says connect with your audience, and it says connect with your audience in almost every path. But if you're going for dynamic leadership, you want to connect with your audience in a bigger way. But if you're going for coaching and learning coaching skills, connecting with your audience is a whole different animal, because you have a totally different kind of audience. This audience needs to be coached. They need to be taught. They're either timid or they don't understand, kind of the way we are feeling right now about choosing a path. And so it's the same project in 2 different paths, but it's not going to come out the same way, because you're going to use that project tailored to what it is you want to accomplish. A lot of people are at work. What do they do at work? Are they in healthcare? Are they in sales? Are they in project management? So they all have different reasons for choosing a path. And that was my biggest problem, because I have no idea what visionary, what's the last path called? Visionary something.
Communicate.
I thought that meant public relations, where you, visionary communication. Yeah, I thought that was public relations, banners or your tagline for your company or something like that. But now I think it means, let's say you're starting a company and you need a vision to motivate your employees. I think maybe that's what it means. That's where I understand having difficulty finding the path. You have to wait for Pathways to launch so that you can take that assessment quiz that will help you choose the path that works for you. And
Thank you all. Each of you has added something to my understanding, so thank you. And let me just, I know I'm sort of, well, anyway, on this 5-level sheet that we're looking at.
We're all sort of, yeah, that's why we need to buddy up. We're all sort of, kind of, whatever it is, I don't know.
The elective projects in level 3, 4, and 5, are the same one chooses from the same ones on all the pathways? Is that what you're saying?
Not on all of them. Some of them don't have the same electives, but a lot of them do. But you would use, like creating a podcast or writing a compelling blog, but the podcast you would create for this path would be radically different than the podcast you would create for a different path, depending on what it is you want your audience to understand.
Sure, got it. Okay.
Dynamic leadership, it says manage online meetings. Well, a dynamic leader would need that, but in other paths might not need that. That's the kind of thing, I mean, it's not the same. And they are going to continue to develop new projects, more projects. I think right now there are 60 projects. I think it's about that much, I'm sorry. But they're just going to keep adding more and building more paths and putting it in more languages. So it's a growing phenomenon and it's really powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Christine. And really quickly, I'm just going to jump back to the icebreaker. So once completing the icebreaker project, this is another document that Kyle sent out. This would be the icebreaker project completion request form. And this is a form that you can fill out and save on your Basecamp profile. And you can also, or you'll also email it or fax it or mail it into Toastmasters International, and that's how you get credit for your icebreaker project. And you can go into whichever path that you're working in, and that should also be in your inbox.
Marvin, are you saying you choose which path you're going to work on next? Is that what you mean?
Well, the icebreaker project here,
Oh,
now
now I see it. Okay, that's what you mean. So in the icebreaker, that's the first level, and which path are you working in? I get it. You're just saying I finished my icebreaker and I did it in this path. So then when you do your next icebreaker, you would say I did that icebreaker in this other path.
exactly.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Which leads me to another question. In our club, well, Kyle's actually in my club, and he has encouraged us. We've got a next meeting is planned on the 6th of March, where we have 3 people doing their icebreakers, but they don't know what pathway they're in. So we're just using the online links to that first icebreaker, which is, I don't know from which pathway, but it's just one pathway. So how does the evaluation information get put in, and how about this form you're showing me? How does that work when it's completed before it's actually made live?
Are you asking what do you do with your evaluation form and with this project completion form?
Yes, right.
Okay. Now on your Basecamp profile, you'll see a spot where you'll be able to upload those documents on it. It's called an e-profile. It's called an e-portfolio, and that's where you'll upload all of your documents. And it's labeled as levels. So it'll be level 1. You'll have 5 different folders for level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And for the icebreaker, you can put it into the folder for level 1, and that's where you can upload your evaluation form onto your profile. And that'll make more sense once Pathways goes live.
Right, but meanwhile, you can download this and save it on your computer.
This is Joyce. I actually am scheduled to give a speech on Tuesday, and I'm hoping to use this form. Of course, it won't be totally complete because I won't have picked a path by then, but there's an icebreaker for each path, no matter which path you're on. So I'm not really worried about that, indicate which path you're on, until I'm able to take the assessment after March 20th.
Oh, perfect.
Right. You can get started now, but you're going to need to complete it when it launches so that you can
That's correct.
log it in Basecamp. Right.
Yeah, but I won't be able to complete it until Pathways is open for our district.
Right.
As far as picking what path I'm on and little things like that. But like I said, each path you have to do an icebreaker speech for, so it doesn't really matter. I'll be doing one so that as soon as March 20th rolls around, I'll be able to fill it out. We'll be able to get it in, and I'll have the first icebreaker project completed.
Yeah, good.
My
Somebody
plan.
else was saying that the people who want to start in Pathways right away can get this icebreaker done, and then what? They don't speak again for another 6 weeks while they wait for March 20th to roll around. If they want to continue practice speaking, they can do the icebreaker a second time and do it better. Use the stage as part of their speech, or do something more dynamic. If you have somebody in your club that can teach that, then they would still be able to practice speaking more. They're not going to be doing, I don't think they're doing the second icebreaker for another path. I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, you know, if it was me, if I had another opportunity, this is Joyce. If this was me and I had another opportunity to speak, I would probably try the icebreaker project again, thinking ahead that I was going to complete more than one pass. That's
Yeah,
what I would do.
You
know,
can,
it's not like it's gonna hurt you at all.
no, and you can do more than one path at the same time.
Yeah, you know, I'm pretty excited about getting to the base camp and then taking the assessment to see, because I've looked at the projects and I thought, oh yeah, I might like this one, but I went to, since I belong to different clubs, each club that I went to, something else appealed to me. So the bottom line is that I picked three different projects for the 3 different clubs that I belong to, and you know, and that's fine too.
Yeah,
Not like it hurts you at all.
Absolutely.
no, and you're
Yeah.
at your own pace.
Yeah, it's perfect. But like I say, I'm pretty excited about when it actually opens and the base camp, to see what path I'm actually going to go first. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, me as well. Very much so. Perfect. And so as we can wrap things up, it's been a great session. I really enjoyed all the questions. I always like to hear other questions. And as far as we move through this process, and are there any other questions? Or Lindy, did you have another question? I saw that you unmuted.
I do, and you could tell me if it's too early in the process, but I'm kind of a big picture kind of person, and I'm wondering about, are there new designations that with these pathways that Toastmasters is working toward, particularly in relation to distinguished club goals? How are accomplishments going to be measured now with the new system?
Absolutely. We can do an example as far as choosing a path. If you choose the dynamic leadership path, for example, as you're going through the levels, once you complete level 1, you will be a level 1 in dynamic leadership, and then a level 2 in that, or if you want to look at it as abbreviations, it'll be DL1, DL2, DL3, DL4. And then once you complete level 5, you'll be considered proficient in dynamic leadership, or you're proficient in visionary communication. And that's kind of how the designations will work. And once you complete 2 paths and you reach all the other steps, such as you were a district officer, and you completed all the other components, then you'll achieve your DTM at that point. And along the process, those will be the designations. So for like advanced communicator, bronze, silver, all those designations will go away. The only one that will stick will be the DTM, or the Distinguished Toastmaster. Does that help?
Yes, that's helpful, but as you're saying that, then I just also want to ask now about the translation from our competent leadership into the pathways. How do those leadership pieces get played out?
Okay, great question. Basically what they did is they took the communication path and or the communication track in the leadership track, and they kind of combined them all into one. So there's no leadership. They're not separate in that way. The more they're combined, they kind of sprinkled in all the components that you'll find in the competent leader. So they kind of sprinkled in all those skills and all the information within all of the paths in that way.
Okay, but functionally as a VPE, tracking meeting roles and progress, is that no longer a direct relationship?
The
You know,
meeting
is
rules,
there a timer and it's there?
yeah, for tracking those, there is a way that you can track it onto your Basecamp profile where you can track which role that you've completed. It'll be on your Basecamp profile where that's tracked.
But it's not like when you were signing off things in your Competent Leader Manual, and then you would complete it and get your Competent Leader Award. Leadership is taught all through the pathways. If you look at these pages, the path and the core competencies, at the bottom, almost everyone at the 5th level needs a strong leadership project, either a high performance leadership project or something like that, or an elective as a high performance leadership project. So when you receive a completed path, that's a big deal. It's much more than the Competent Communicator Manual and Competent Leader Manual together. And some of these paths, there are so many speeches to give that to complete the entire path, you give 14 to 15 speeches. For instance, say you're tired of your job and you want to look for another job, and so you follow the path that's going to teach you how to do networking. So first you do your research and you give a speech to your club on what you learned about networking. Then the path requires you to go to a networking event and meet people there, do what you need to do, come back, go over what you learned, what you missed, and write a speech and give that to your club. And then when you're done with that part of the, I think, Marvin, can you scroll down a little bit? It says, scroll down on this, yeah, just a little. There, it talks about, okay, so in number 5, it says reflect on your path. But in the electives, in level 5, it says lessons learned. And that would be another speech, what you learned by going through this path. So you would be giving speeches often on what you're working on while you're working on it. And your club would be learning this path along with you by listening to your speech. And they would understand the path better for when they choose their next path. So it really is a buddying up system. When I look at this, when I see what they're offering, I'm realizing where this is going. It's really amazing how well tied together it is. It's going to be great.
Thank
It's
you.
very to follow. I wish you the best. I hope you love it as much as I do.
Thank you. I appreciate your insights.
You know, I'm actually pretty excited about this too. I think the interesting thing is Joanne came and talked to us and presented it in each of these clubs. And the interesting thing is that there wasn't anybody that picked the same, even if they picked the same path, they ended up picking different electives or different things, and everybody had a different way of doing things to get to the very end. And I think that's great. I think it becomes more tailored to what people need, and hopefully it'll excite people about Toastmasters.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's kind of like going to college where you choose your major, but even within your major, you chose your electives and you geared it to what you wanted. And so this seems to me a lot like college where, okay, you're all in the same club, you're all in the same university. You're each going to choose your own major, and some of your electives will overlap, but for the most part, you're each going to be going down your own path, your own journey. But at the same time, you're going to be giving speeches, and everybody's going to come to understand what everyone else is interested in and working on. And I just see this as so much more social, so much more interactive and bonding. I'm really excited about this. And besides, it's on the computer and online, and the videos are helpful, and I think it will really appeal to people more than our traditional program, and our clubs will be stronger and bigger. That's my hope, my vision, my wish. I'll stop talking. I would keep talking forever.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions or comments?
I, again, just want to thank you all. I feel like I understand things better. A comment or I'd be interested in knowing more strategies about this. The membership in my club is accustomed to using tools, to use your new language, but they're more accustomed to using the tools they have. What I'm really saying is even use of our club website is kind of low. People use the email there when they're told what roles they're going to have, but they rarely go into the website. So I have some concerns about how to motivate people to get in and really take charge of what they're doing if they're not very technologically friendly. So as things go forward, I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about working with that.
I want to tell you what I have been saying, and I would like your gut response because nobody has said anything back. They just laugh. So when I was a kid, my mother was forever repeating cliches. And one of her favorites was, "You cannot teach an old dog new tricks." And I decided when I was 17 that I was never going to be that old dog. So here I am. I'm going to learn this stuff and learn how to use a computer and learn this new program and not be the old dog. And people just smile at me and they don't say anything. So I wondered if they're thinking, but shoot, I want to be the old dog. I just want to lie down on the living room rug and chew my old slipper. What do you think? So what's your gut feeling? Would you use that as an explanation why they should be willing to continue learning?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, saying it that way puts a pall on them if they're feeling like an old dog, which I think some people may. I mean, it's hard, and making change is challenging for anyone, and I'm sure everyone will do their best. And it's a different way of managing one's own work, and if the people aren't accustomed to doing that, I won't know till we get there, so I should just shut up and quit asking about it. But it's just an area of concern.
No, I understand. I couldn't get on this meeting tonight. I had to call Marvin on the phone so he could walk through it on the phone while we have email and all this stuff. I still couldn't figure out what the email said. So yeah, I get it. But
so that makes the buddy system that much more important. I get that now. So making sure people have buddies. Okay.
Here's another idea. With some clubs, they have orientation meetings which are outside of the club. So if you have people that maybe aren't as computer literate as other people, maybe what you could do is have an orientation meeting where they could print out everything that they need and they could take it with them, and they would have their little package, and then they would have just like a CC manual, but they would have their little package. You could even get a binder. They could put it in a binder or whatever they wanted. And the only thing that you would have to do is have somebody who, is willing to maybe scan it and upload it to Toastmaster International. But at least the people that were kind of, not sure about doing this, that, or the other thing would at least feel like there was a group of them that could, that we're all in the same boat. But, that's one thing that you might think about.
Will uploading things require scanning?
I'm thinking that it might, but I don't know because, obviously March 20th is not here yet. But, I'm thinking that it might. And, you can always go to your library and have it scanned, or you can, there's ways to get it scanned that's pretty friendly. So, I think that you just need to make sure that the people feel comfortable with them because they need to just feel comfortable with the process. And if they feel like there's more than just one or two of them that are not real comfortable with it, then what I would do is I suggest that, that you have a meeting and then you can all talk about it. You can all upload it program going, and they would feel like they were part of the group, because really nobody wants to feel like they're left out, and that would get them all involved. And the projects and the elected projects, I think, are, there's just so much more to them than there used to be. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. And if the club, that's one of the things that I'm going to suggest. You know what? Let's meet at the library. Let's go over some of these things. Then you can sit out. You'll have your package to go, and it'll be like the old Toastmasters, but there's so much more, and they'll be so much better. So that's what I'm going to recommend.
Well, and I'll throw in just one thought. This is a tremendous cross-generational opportunity that we're looking at here. And there's going to be things that the older Toastmasters are going to bring into the picture, and the newer, younger Toastmasters, and you combine those energies, and that again, creating those buddy-up systems so that they can rely on each other, learn with each other, and both move through the process is kind of the vision that I see taking place here. And I'm with Joyce, and boy, what an incredible opportunity this is. But we don't want to leave anybody behind. So it's keep on going through your membership, and keep encouraging and find out where the weak spots are. And it may take 2 or 3 people working together to work through the process. But once they get going, then it starts making sense. But until we get that started, we've got to take it, kind of slow and easy for a lot of people.
Great, well said, thank you.
Perfect, and I really enjoyed all of the comments. It's always great hearing other people's feedback, and I really always love hearing all the questions to get the conversation energized. And it looks like the next session that we'll have for the Pathways virtual session will be on Sunday, the 18th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Be the next session. So I encourage you to invite your other fellow officers who may not have attended this session, or possibly didn't attend the previous one, so that they can get some more insight on what this new Pathways opportunity is coming up. And I certainly thank you all for all your attendance today and all of your participation. I thought it was a very productive and very fun meeting, and I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, Marvin.
Thank you,
Dwayne.
Marvin.
Yes, thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Marvin.
Marvin. I understand a lot more about it now, just walking through this path, even though I think Joanne did an excellent job in talking about the program and the things that are to come. I'm excited for it, and I think everybody should be, but that's just my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's a good opinion.
Yes.
The shared opinion.
Yes, and I'm bringing it to the spring conference too, so there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, well, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you
Good
very
night,
much.
everyone.
Good night,
Thank
Christine.
you.
Good night. Thanks.